The pickups that mechanics personally own and drive long after everyone else has moved on to newer models are almost never the trucks dominating the dealer lot. They are the ones sitting at the far end with the reduced price sticker. There are 5 pickup trucks sitting on used lots across this country right now that almost no buyer bothers to look at. Sellers have cut the asking price more than once. They collect dust in the far corner while shoppers fight over beat-up F150S with inflated stickers and fragile 10-speed gearboxes. These overlooked trucks were built before automakers got addicted to tiny turbocharged engines, direct injection headaches, and transmissions that give up at 90,000 miles. Every single one of these machines will still be moving cargo long after a showroom-fresh pickup ends up crushed for scrap. Number 5. Mazda B-Series. 1994, 2009. Most buyers either have no idea this truck exists, or they assume parts are impossible to track down. Neither assumption holds up. The Mazda B-Series, sold in the United States through 2009, shares its frame, its engines, its gearbox, and its entire parts list with the Ford Ranger. The two trucks came off the same factory floor in Twin Cities, Minnesota. The only meaningful gap between them is the badge on the tailgate, and that badge gap translates directly into a price gap of several $1,000s at any used lot where both happen to sit side by side. A young guy launching a landscaping operation once came in with $4,500 looking for a dependable work truck. A 2008 Mazda B-2000 300 with 142,000 miles was listed at $4,200 at the same dealer that wanted $6,800 for a 2008 Ford Ranger with 138,000 miles. Same assembly line, same mechanical package. He walked out with the Mazda and kept $2,600 in his pocket. 14 months later, his only expenses had been an oil change and one set of brake pads. The engine that matters here is the 3-litre Duratec 4-cylinder used from 2001 forward. It runs a timing chain rather than a belt, skips the turbocharger entirely, and uses port fuel injection instead of direct injection, so carbon buildup on the intake valves is never a concern. These engines have cleared 280,000 miles on their original internals with nothing beyond regular oil changes. The 5-speed manual behind it is nearly impossible to kill. The 5-speed automatic holds up well when the fluid gets swapped every 60,000 miles. Clean examples with under 150,000 miles are currently moving between $4,000 and $7,500. Equivalent ranges fetch $6,500 to $10,000. The mechanical package is identical. The price difference is pure badge bias. When walking around one of these trucks, check the frame section behind the rear wheels for rust, especially on trucks from northern states. The radiator support and front control arm bushings wear with age and are worth a close look. If those areas are solid, the rest of the truck will keep earning its keep for another 2 decades. Number 4. Dodge Dakota, 1997, 2011. Dodge pulled the plug on the Dakota in 2011 and left a gap in the market that was never properly filled. It occupied a useful space between compact Rangers and full-size half-tons, and it carried engines Chrysler built during a period when long-term durability was still a genuine engineering priority. The two worth seeking out are the 3 7-litre Magnum V6 and the 4 PowerTech 7-litre PowerTech V8. A contractor once rolled a 2007 Dakota in for a pre-trip inspection. He had picked it up 3 years earlier at 110,000 miles for $6,800 and was now sitting at 187,000 miles. The suspension was still tight, the frame was clean. Compression across all 8 cylinders came back within spec. The transmission shifted as if the truck had barely left the dealer lot. He drove it from one coast to the other without a problem, and the truck was still running strong long after that trip. The 7-litre PowerTech V8 has an unfair reputation because the earliest versions from 1999 through 2003 had valve seat failures and overheating issues when owners skipped coolant maintenance. The version sold from 2008 onward received updated cylinder heads, a revised cooling circuit, and variable valve timing. That revised engine produces 302 horsepower, handles 7,000 pounds of towing, and runs on regular fuel. It is genuinely one of the most underappreciated V8 engines ever dropped into a mid-sized truck. Current asking prices for a 2008 through 2011 Dakota with the 4.7 and reasonable mileage sit between $6,000 and $10,000. A comparable year, F150, with the 5.4-litre Triton, the engine notorious for ejecting spark plugs straight out of the cylinder head, costs $4,000 more and routinely needs significant repair work within the first year of ownership. Inspection priorities on a Dakota are straightforward. Upper ball joints wear out around 120,000 miles and run about $400 to replace. Check the rear differential fluid, since many previous owners ignored it completely. On startup, a mild valve train tick is normal. A loud, persistent knock from the top of the engine usually means the prior owner ran it consistently low on oil. That truck is best left on the lot. S10 1994 2004 with the 3-litre Vortec V6. The S10 with the 3-litre V6 powered a massive portion of American small businesses through the 90s and into the early 2000s. That engine is essentially a GM small block V8 with 2 cylinders removed. Same design philosophy, same parts availability, same proven durability that the small block Chevy family has demonstrated across more than 6 decades of production. A 1,999 extended cab example with the 4 planes 3-litre, a 5-speed manual and 2-wheel drive was purchased 11 years ago for $2,800 at 156,000 miles. It is currently past 241,000 miles. Total repair bill over those 11 years. A fuel pump at 198,000 miles, a starter at 220,000 miles, and a fresh set of spark plugs and wires. Nothing else. It hauls parts, moves appliances, and handles dump runs without complaint. It fires every single morning without hesitation. The 3-litre Vortec makes 190 horsepower in this configuration, which sounds modest until you factor in that the truck itself weighs around 3,400 pounds. It pulls 5,500 pounds without strain and returns 18 to 21 miles per gallon on the highway. Both the 5-speed manual and the 4L60E automatic are thoroughly understood by mechanics everywhere in the country. A rebuilt 4L60E installed at any independent shop costs around $1,800 less than a single service event on a modern Ford 1.0 speed unit. Clean 2-wheel drive S10s with the 4.3 are currently priced between $3,500 and $7,000. 4-wheel drive versions run $5,000 to $9,000. A same-era Toyota Tacoma with the 4-litre V6 is selling for $12,000 to $18,000 in any condition because the Tacoma carries genuine collector-grade demand. Mechanically, a healthy S10 with the 4.3 will cover the same ground for a fraction of the money. The only serious concern is corrosion. Check the cab corners, rocker panels, and the frame rails directly behind the cab. If those structural areas are clean, the drivetrain will outlast the sheet metal around it. Also, look into the intake manifold gaskets, the 4.3 used plastic gaskets in this generation that can start leaking coolant around 150,000 miles. It is a known problem and a roughly $400 repair. Account for it if the work has not already been done. Number 2, Ford Ranger 1998 2011 with the 3-litre 4-cylinder. This is the truck that has been recommended to more first-time buyers than any other vehicle over many years of giving advice. It shares the same 3-litre Duratec engine with the Mazda B-Series because the 2 trucks are functionally identical. But the Ranger earns its own place on this list because sheer availability makes it easy to find. And the base trim manual transmission versions are dramatically underpriced. A nursing student came in looking for something to cover 4 0-mile clinical rotations each way, with $5,000 total to spend. The advice was to skip the Honda Civic and find a Ranger instead. 2 weeks later, she came back having purchased a 2009 Ranger XL regular cab, 3-litre, 4-cylinder, 5-speed manual, 2-wheel drive, 118,000 miles at $4,400. She put 31,000 miles on it in the following year. Total repair cost, 1 oil change. Not a rounding error, 1 oil change. The 3-litre Duratec is mechanically related to the engines used in the Ford Focus, the Mazda 3, and certain Ford Fusion trim levels. Rated output is 143 horsepower, which reads unimpressive until the fuel economy figure comes up 27 miles per gallon on the highway, which beats the majority of modern crossovers. Timing chain, port injection, no turbocharger, no variable cam phasers to Greenwich themselves at 80,000 miles, no direct injection carbon fouling the intake. It was engineered when Ford measured success in long-term reliability rather than peak horsepower statistics. A clean 2009 to 2011 Ranger XL with the 2.3 and the manual gearbox currently lists between $5,000 and $9,000, depending on mileage and location. The 4-cylinder manual combinations are the cheapest on the market because manual transmissions have fallen so far out of favour. That is the version to buy. The clutch on these trucks will survive 200,000 miles if it is not abused. When it finally goes, replacement at an independent shop runs $600 to $800. Inspection checklist. Examine the frame at the rear shackle hangers and around the spare tyre carrier for rust. Check whether the timing chain tensioner recall was completed. Some early 2-3-litre Duratec units had a tensioner design flaw that was addressed under a manufacturer recall. Service records confirming that work has been done are a green light. With that box checked, a clean Ranger is legitimately capable of reaching 300,000 miles with standard maintenance. Nissan Frontier, second generation, 2005-2019, with the VQ40DE V6. This is the truck worth buying tomorrow for anyone who needs genuine mid-size utility over the next 15 years and wants to keep total ownership costs as low as mechanically possible. Nissan quietly built the same truck for 14 consecutive model years with almost no changes, while every competitor chased turbocharging, 8-speed transmissions, and complexity-driven horsepower numbers. That lack of ambition turned out to be the truck's greatest engineering achievement. A retired customer bought a 2014 Frontier SV with the 4.0-litre V6 4 years prior at $14,500 with 78,000 miles. He reached 162,000 miles over those 4 years. Total repairs, 2 sets of brake pads, routine oil changes twice per year, and 1 battery. Every summer, he pulls a 4,000-pound camper trailer from Florida to Maine and back. The truck has never left him stranded. The VQ40DE is the engine that makes this truck exceptional. The same V6 family powered the Nissan 350Z, the Pathfinder, the Xterra, and the Infiniti FX35. It displaces 4 litres, makes 261 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque, runs without a turbocharger, skips cylinder deactivation, has no direct injection system, and uses a timing chain rather than a belt. Port fuel injection feeds it cleanly. Multiple examples of this engine have passed 300,000 miles on their original internal components. One customer's 2007 Frontier reached 347,000 miles and was still turning with the factory engine and transmission in place. The 5-speed automatic paired with the VQ40DE is not modern and is not fuel economy focused, but it shifts cleanly and holds together for the life of the truck when the fluid is replaced every 60,000 miles. Pricing is the part that is hard to explain with a straight face. A 2014 to 2016 Frontier SV with the 4.0-litre V6 and 80,000 to 100,000 miles is currently asking $14,000 to $19,000. A same-year Toyota Tacoma with the equivalent engine is asking $24,000 to $32,000. That is a $10,000 gap between two trucks that perform at comparable reliability levels over time. The Tacoma carries a premium because buyers chase the badge. The Frontier carries none of that premium. The mechanical difference in a well-maintained shop environment is essentially non-existent. One critical inspection point exists for the 2005 to 2010 model years. The factory radiator on those trucks had an internal failure mode where coolant could pass through the cooler line and contaminate the transmission fluid. Frontier owners call it the strawberry milkshake failure. The transmission fluid turns pink, frothy, and the transmission follows shortly after. Nissan issued updated radiators, and most affected trucks have since been repaired or removed from service, but pull the transmission dipstick before any purchase. Clean red fluid means the truck is safe. Pink, brown, or milky fluid means walk away immediately. Also check the rear leaf springs for sag, particularly on trucks that carried heavy loads regularly. Replacement runs about $600 per side. The Frontier is the right answer for anyone who wants a truck that actually works across a decade of use without requiring major investment along the way. The Tacoma tax is real, and the mechanical justification for it is largely a matter of perception rather than engineering data. Trait. The market has moved past them, buyers have moved on to newer and shinier options, and the pricing reflects that neglect rather than any mechanical reality. The Mazda B-Series and Ford Ranger deliver the same drivetrain for thousands less than the badge premium demands. The Dodge Dakota fills a segment that no manufacturer currently touches. The Chevy S10 with the 4-on-3-litre Vortec is simply one of the most durable small truck powertrains ever assembled. And the Nissan Frontier with the VQ40DE is priced like an afterthought while delivering the kind of long-term mechanical reliability that most current trucks can only aspire to. None of these vehicles come with heated seats, wireless phone integration, or a large center display. What they offer instead is something genuinely rare in the current market: mechanical honesty engineered before complexity became a selling point.